Hello, thanks for joining me. If you're new here, my name's Liv, and today I've got yoga for back care, or lower back care in particular. So we're focusing on strengthening the entire core, so from the pelvic floor, the abdominals, the side, and the back muscles. And then we're also going to look at stretching out around the hips, which are places that often get quite tight when we're experiencing lower back pain. So I use a couple of blocks in this class. If you don't have blocks, you can use something like a sturdy hardback book or tissue boxes, or you can get creative and just find something that will work. Apart from that, all you need is yourself. And when you're ready, we'll get started. Okay, so we're going to start this one lying down. So make your way onto your back with the knees hugging in towards the chest when you get there. We'll start by taking some circles with the knees, moving the knees in the same direction. Just feeling into the lower back, maybe feeling how the ground is helping to massage this lower back area. And notice if you're moving quite fast here, see if you can slow it down. Maybe working with the breath, slowing the breath down, breathing down into the belly. Good, and then if you feel like you want a bit more movement here, feel free to take these circles bigger. And you can even start to drop the knees down to one side and over to the other. But if that's feeling like too much, feel free to keep the circles nice and small. Good, and then you can start to take them around the other way if you haven't already. Good, and just checking in with how the body's feeling. If you're experiencing any lower back pain or discomfort, just noticing that and making sure to be mindful of how you're moving, remembering that I'm just here to guide you, and that if you feel any pain or serious discomfort, feel free to just stop whatever we're doing, take a little break, and then you can join back in if you want to, or you can just call it a day. Good, and then from here, we're going to drop the feet down, keeping the knees bent, our feet about hip width apart. And we're going to take a block, place it in between the knees. I've got mine this way around with my knees on either side. And we're going to start here by just starting to squeeze the block and then release a little bit. Squeezing the block, releasing. And we're going to work with the breath. So exhaling as we squeeze the block. Inhale to release. Squeeze the block. Inhale, release. And just taking this at your own pace. And just noticing what you can feel going on here. A little bit of activation around the pelvis, the inner thighs, and this lower abdomen area. And it's also okay if you can't feel anything. Just know that there's lots of stuff happening, even in this simple movement of squeezing the block. But if you do want a little bit more, you can try extending the exhale. And that's going to give you a little bit more time in this activated squeezing position. And you'll feel this lower abdomen kind of start to come together, engage. And if you want even more, you can try coming up onto tiptoes. And again, that's just going to engage the muscles a little bit further. Good, just taking 2 more breaths, so a full inhale, full exhale, and then another one. Good, and then just remove the block, put it to one side. We'll take the knees wide, feet together for Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined cobbler's pose. Taking a few breaths here, seeing if you can let the pelvis, the hips relax. And if you find that opening the knees like this isn't too comfortable for you, if you've got 2 blocks handy, you can bring them under your knees for a little bit more support. Good, just take 1 more breath here. And then on your exhale, squeezing the knees back up, feet on the floor, and we're going to bring a block back in between the knees. This time, we're going to exhale, start to peel the spine away from the floor. Keep squeezing the block in between the knees, and then lowering back down on your inhale. Good, exhale, squeezing, rolling the spine up. Inhale to lower back down. Again, just moving at your own pace. If moving with the breath feels too fast or too slow, feel free to just find a different rhythm that works for you. Good, but just remembering we're going to keep this activation through the pelvis by squeezing the block with the knees at the beginning of your lift. Good. We're going to take 2 more of these. Again, moving slow and with control. We don't want to rush or jam anything here. Good. And then when you're done, just releasing the block again. But it felt nice before, taking the knees out to either side. Or you can take the feet wide and just let the knees fall in towards each other. Just taking a few breaths here just to let the body settle. And just to feel what the hips, the pelvis, the core is feeling like. Okay, this time we're going to grab the block again, but this time it's going to be in between the hands. I've got mine like this, so long ways. And from here, reaching the block up above the face, squeezing the block with the hands. And then we're going to start to drop the block back past the head down towards the ground. Keep squeezing the block just so it hovers just off the ground. And then bringing it back past the face, down towards the knees. And then just moving like this. Block heads back towards the floor and then back towards the knees. Just notice what's going on through the core. So through the abdomen, notice what's going on with the ribs and the spine. And if you find there's a lot of movement around the ribs, or if the spine starts to move away from the floor as the block drops back, try keeping the block a little bit higher up, just to the point before the ribs and the spine start to move. This might just mean that you have some tightness through the shoulders, but we're really trying to keep our focus on the core today. So keeping all of these muscles kind of engaged. So working to where is comfortable for you, and before you can feel that movement through the spine. Good, and then maybe syncing up with the breath again, inhaling one way, exhaling the other, or finding a rhythm that works for you. Keep squeezing the block. We're just going to take 3 more of these. So 1 is forwards and backwards. Good, last time. Good, and then pop the block back down to the side. And again, just finding a restful position. This time it might feel quite nice to bring the arms out to this cactus position or stretch them out long. And you can bring the legs to Supta Baddha Konasana again, or just take the feet wide, letting the knees fall in towards each other. So here today we're really trying to focus on strengthening the trunk. So all the way from the pelvis, the pelvic floor, up through the obliques, and all these kind of core muscles and the muscles up the back. Good, and then from here, hugging the knees in towards the chest. We're going to exhale, squeeze everything up, chest and head towards the knees, and then release back down. And twice more like that. Exhaling to squeeze in. Inhale, release. Good, once more, exhale. Inhale. And then rolling onto one side, pressing yourself all the way up. And we're going to come over to all fours. From here, wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips, and we'll start by just rocking backwards and forwards, stretching out through the wrists a little bit. Good, and then coming back to center. From here, we're going to extend our left leg out behind us and just start to rock backwards and forwards. So we've got the toes tucked under, kind of on the ball of the back foot. Just stretching out a little bit through the foot, the ankle, and that extended leg. Good, and then from here, we're going to lift that extended leg up and exhale to squeeze the knee up towards the elbow. Inhale, extend away. Exhale, squeeze the knee up. Inhale, extend away. Taking 3 more. Inhale. Exhale. Good, you got this. Keep going. Keep breathing. And good. And then bring that knee back down. Taking the knees wide, sending the hips back for child's pose. Dropping the head down. If child's pose doesn't work for you, feel free to just kind of stay in kneeling, or you can have a quick lie down on your back, hugging the knees towards the chest. And just taking 2 or 3 more deep breaths here. Letting everything soften down into the ground. Good, and then bring yourself back up to all fours. If your wrists are a little bit tired or experiencing kind of discomfort there, you can bring blocks underneath your hands and try your all fours like this instead. And then doing the same with the right leg, extending right leg back, rocking backwards and forwards. And then when you're ready, lifting up that extended leg, and the knee is traveling kind of out towards the side and then to the elbow, extending it back. Working on these side oblique muscles. Moving with the breath, exhale up, inhale to extend. 3 more. Good, you got this, keep going. Last one. Good, and then again bring that knee back down, finding a position just to take a little pause, a little rest in, whatever that looks like for you. Regaining the breath, letting the breath become steady. Breathing down into the belly. And then making your way back up to all fours when you're ready. This is going to be our last little bit. So we're going to start by bringing the left foot to the outside of the left hand and then making your way up. From here, you can either stay with the knee down or tuck the toes, lifting yourself up for this high lunge. But from here, with the knee lifted or lowered, we're going to work on engaging the glutes and pressing the hips forwards, but really focusing on keeping the glutes engaged to find a stretch through the front of the right hip. So if you've got the knee lifted, you might want to just bend it a little bit more than you usually would to find this kind of tuck of the pelvis, pressing the tailbone down and under to help find this stretch through the front of the right hip. And then you can start to extend that back leg back again, but just making sure to try and keep the pelvis as stable as you can. Good, and then hands can come to hips or just to the lower back, rolling the shoulders up and back, opening up through the chest. And if you notice that your hips are kind of out to the side a bit, see if you can pull this left hip back a little bit, right hip forwards. So keeping the hips parallel to the short edge of your mat. Good, one more big breath here. And then you can make your way back down to all fours. Maybe taking some hip circles here, or finding a restful position just for a couple of breaths. And then we'll find that on the other side. So right foot makes its way to the outside of the right hand, and then propping yourself up, and then option to tuck the back toes under, coming up to this high lunge position. But wherever you are, focusing on engaging the glutes, kind of finding this tuck of the pelvis. And then if that back knee is lifted, you can begin to straighten the leg a little bit, but just being really mindful that you don't lose this tuck of the pelvis. Focusing on finding that stretch through the front of the left hip, pulling the right hip back just a little bit, and then you can find that length through the spine, lifting the chest. There's a lot going on here, so make sure that you're still breathing, doing your best to keep the breath steady. Good, one last breath here. And then making your way all the way down, and we'll come either to child's pose, or you can come directly onto your back, taking the knees wide for Supta Baddha Konasana again, or knees together. So this is going to be our final pose. We can take our Shavasana here. So taking the time just to get yourself comfortable. Letting the breath return to its natural rhythm. And just giving the body time to soften. Relaxing the jaw, the muscles around the face. Relaxing down through the neck and the shoulders. Softening through the hips, the belly, and the legs. Just following the sound of your own breath. And then you're welcome to stay here for as long as you want. But if you're ready to come out, you can start to wiggle the fingers and the toes, and letting that movement work its way up your arms and your legs. And finding any movement or stretches here that feel nice. Before rolling onto one side, maybe pausing here just for a breath or two, feeling the support of the ground underneath you. And then you can start to make your way up to a seated position, whatever feels comfortable for you. Sitting up tall through the spine, closing the eyes or softening the gaze down towards the ground. And just taking this final moment to send yourself some love and some gratitude for taking the time to move today, taking the time to look after yourself. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you found this class helpful, and feel free to come back to it anytime. It's a great one to strengthen the whole core. So not just the abdominals, which we usually think of as being the core, but the pelvic floor, the obliques and the back muscles. So let me know what you thought of this video in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you've been enjoying my videos. And I hope to see you again soon. Bye.